This is the bartending class. I hope to take you through this so that you understand drinks as categories, not as individual drinks. Now, the keystone of bartending is the pour. If you can't proportion a drink, then you can make something, but it won't be made correctly. Now the pour, when you pour, always hold the bottle by the neck. You've got control of it. Down here you don't have the control. Now what I'm going to teach is the free pour. Now anybody can pour it in a shot glass and mix their drink. But free pour, we're going to use a count system. It'll be 1001, 1002. That should be 1 ounce. Now how are you going to know that it's 1 ounce unless you use a 1 ounce container to practice with? So what you're going to have to do is get a 1 ounce shot glass. Now make sure it's a 1 ounce shot glass because not all shot glasses are 1 ounce. For the lack of anything else better to do, get a measuring cup, put a glass of water, or 1 ounce of water in it, pour it into a glass. You can take a piece of tape or something to mark the glass so you know where 1 ounce is. So then you practice on pouring 1 ounce. Now when you count, do it out loud. The mind does not have a conception of time. So you have to do something just like musicians do, like 1, 1, 2, 3, to get a beat, to get a rhythm. And basically, by the count is what you're doing, is getting a rhythm of the pour. So it'll be 1001, 1002. And it looks simple, but it's not. One thing I forgot to tell you is the pour. Now the pour, there's all sizes of pours. What we're using is the 2-second pour or the slow count pour. Make sure you're using that type of pour. You can get these at a liquor store, restaurant, supply house. This isn't fun. The drudgery part of bartending is learning to pour. It's nothing but practice, practice, practice. But if you don't get this right, the rest of it's not going to make any sense, or the drinks aren't going to taste correctly. Pour again is 1001, 1002. And if you noticed, when I was pouring, the liquid went straight down. Now if I'm pouring like this, obviously it comes out at a different speed than like that. You've probably seen bartenders do this stuff. If this is full of ice, it's going to splash everywhere. You can get fancy sometime else. But when you're just practicing, let's stay with the nuts and bolts of it. 1001, 1002. It looks simple, but it's hard. Now, once you start practicing putting it in one glass, now this glass is already marked, so you know where it is. So your count's going to, well, your eyes are going to tell you where the count is. So now, get all kinds of other glasses, 1001, 1002. Practicing that, pour it into your unit glass, the glass that's marked, and see how close you are. Then, when you think you've got it down, you can get to the point where you can do this. 1001, 1002, 1001, 1002, 1001, 1002, 1001, 1002. Now, you don't have to use liquor when you're practicing, just use water. And you don't have to use a liquor bottle. It's better if you do. Now, when you could use a pop bottle if you want to, but try to do it as realistic as possible. Also, when you're practicing this, look at the height that you practice at. I've had problems with people practicing, but they'd practice on their kitchen table where it'd be down here. You want it about 48 inches high that you practice at, because you're practicing down here, it's not the same as up here. So when you get to a bar, your pour is going to be thrown off. The unit of measurements are 1001, 1002 for 1 ounce, 1001 for a half ounce, 1000 for a quarter ounce. The glasses to be used are the rock glass, abbreviated R, the double rock, abbreviated 2R, the highball, abbreviated H, and the tall, abbreviated T. Second step, 4 basic drinks. Now we're not going to spend much time on this, but we'll just go through it lightly. There's 4 basic drinks, a shot of something. Now you have to listen to the way that it's called or ordered. A shot of bourbon, a shot of scotch, a shot of gin, a shot of vodka. It's all the same thing. 1 ounce without ice. 1001, 1002. Something on the rocks. gin on the rocks, vodka on the rocks, drambuie on the rocks. It tells you the product and how it's to be made. 1001, 1002. It's the same drink as the shot, except with ice. Now I'll say something about ice right now. The ice, you've probably had this problem at home, where you'll make a drink and you'll portion the liquor that goes in it, but it never tastes the same each time. The problem on that probably is you're using that big ice at home, and one time you get 3 cubes in it, next time you get 4 cubes in it. That's displacing the mixer. Now if you'll notice, just about all bars use the small ice. That's for consistency. You can get ice in there. And whenever you make a drink with ice, always fill the glass completely full of ice, because that proportions the drink. Actually, it makes the drink taste a little bit stronger too. But your second drink is something with a mixer. Scotch and water, bourbon and water, gin and tonic, vodka and cranberry juice, root beer and vodka. It'll tell you the drink, the alcohol to go in it, and the mixer to put in it. So let's call this a rum and coke. 1001, 1002. Always count your pour. Then you add your mixer, whatever the mixer might be. The next one is tall. All you're doing is using a taller glass, a larger glass. But you have to listen to the call by the customer. When they say tall, actually they want a little bit more mixer in the drink. So it would be 1001, 1002. Then you add your mixer, whatever they called. Let's say it's a gin and tonic tall, a scotch and soda tall, a bourbon and coke tall. Or they could call their own brands, or the specific brands, such as Mark and Coke, Smirnoff, and orange juice, which would be a screwdriver. We'll get to that later. But just listen to the way that the drink is called, and you'll know what liquor to put in it and what mixer. And the way it's called will also describe how it's made, such as a shot, something on the rocks, something with a mixer, something with a mixer tall. Now, on cutting fruit, first piece of advice I'm going to give you is get a sharp knife. The thing that'll cut your finger quicker, or any part of your body quicker than anything else, is a dull knife. Now when you cut a lime, take the little ends off. Now you got something to set it on. It won't rock on you. Cut it in half. Now we're going to quarter it. Don't do like some bartenders do. They cut these things so thin you can read a newspaper through them. Because when you squeeze this into a drink, you want to have some lime juice, so it'll give it some flavor. You have it, or quarter it again. Okay, now on the orange, again, cut the end off. Now, remember about these garnishes, when you're cutting fruit, this is going to be a garnish for you, is that you want to make these as attractive as possible. Bartending is a lot like cooking in a way. The more attractive you make the drink, even if you make a bad drink, it's going to taste better because it looks good. Don't cut them too thin, don't cut them too thick. There's a point where it's just right. Okay. Now, a lot of people use lemons in their drinks. It's generally because they're too cheap to use limes. And the reason I'm cutting this up is I'm going to use this for twist. Now I'll show you this later on in the video when we get to a place where we can use a twist.